Hello, everyone. World affairs. By now, it should be clear that one political party in the United States is basically owned by Russia, with a few stragglers, again, that have chosen country over party. But there's really not that many that walk that path. Unfortunately, there's more than there used to be, which is a good thing. Now that they've seen the true psychosis and can't even defend it anymore of a certain orange thing over the course of years. Anyway, by now it should be clear that pretty much almost everything that goes on politically in regards to foreign affairs has to do with the lens I talked about, the competition I talked about in several videos over the course of years and lately. The competition between the United States and Russia. Uh, this has been going on since 1945. We were the major two armies or fighting forces that won World War II. Europe was basically decimated. It was mainly the Russians and the Americans that busted into Germany. And it wasn't until the America got involved, because it has so many people, such a large land mass, so much money, military equipment, etc., that the tide was really turned in the war. And America probably should have, not probably, they should have got involved a lot earlier. Unfortunately, it took a long time. In my opinion, that was a righteous war against a madman dictator who wanted to take over the fucking world. So everybody should have been against Adolf Hitler in World War II. Anyway, so you have these main two rivals, even then, before the war was over, that want supremacy. They want supremacy of the globe. They want to be the main empire. America wants to be. Russia wants to be. I'm sure China wants to be as well. In a lot of ways, they are. Anyway, so this competition, again, whether you want to be in it or not, whether you think it's right or wrong, doesn't matter. We're in it, whether we want to be or not. And I'll ask this question to people again. Do you want Russia to win, or do you want America to win? Because it is in Russian interest, the Russian government, Vlad especially, he is the Russian government. He is Russia. It's in his interests to see America go down, and it's probably one of the greatest desires he has in life, to see America go down and Russia become number one. That hasn't happened yet. In all these years, America has always been number one, militarily, financially, in all the metrics that matter in regards to power globally. America has won so far. And they can't beat us militarily. The Russians, the Iranians, whoever would join forces with Russia cannot even remotely close to beat us militarily. They have nothing compared to what we have as a country militarily. They might as well be fighting us with rocks and sticks. That's how outclassed Iran, North Korea, Russia are as far as military equipment. And that's indisputable. Don't dare debate that point, because it's just, that's reality. We pour more money into our military than like every other country combined. We're insane militarily, the people that run this place. Anyway, again, the competition, whether you want to be in it or not, we're in it. Here's the thing. You just saw Iran try and attack Israel last night. One, that's the cost of letting dictators get away with things against our allies, like Ukraine is an ally, major ally of the United States. When you let dictators get away with shit, they get emboldened, and they do what happened last night. what Iran did. If you think only Iran was behind that, you're crazy. That's Vlad, baby. That's all it is. Iran is Russia's main ally in the Middle East, and everyone should know that by now. That shouldn't be news. That shouldn't be a surprise to you. And I dare anyone to say, no, they're not. Yeah, they are. Iran and Russia are one. Just like Israel and America are one. Israel is our only ally in the Middle East. I don't consider any other maybe Jordan. They did help last night, and they helped in the past. I don't consider any other Middle Eastern country our ally besides Israel and, slightly Jordan. So what do you have last night? You have Russia and Iran attacking Israel, our ally, and the United States, basically. Proxy. You have another proxy fight. And I guess I should have made this point first before I went into all this. Remember the timing of when this Israel attack took place. The initial attack, the initial snowball that got the abominable snowball we have now rolling. And that initial snowball was about 2,000 terrorists went into Israel and committed outright atrocities and purposely targeted civilians and people at unawares in their homes without weapons. They knew what they were going after. People without weapons, defenseless people. So everyone that cries, what about the defenseless citizens of Gaza? Okay, well, hold on a second. What about the defenseless citizens of Israel? What about that group of animals that went intentionally after civilians? That is their policy. They don't give a fuck. When they shoot rockets into Israel every fucking day, no matter who it is, do they care if it hits civilians or a military target? Nope. No one cries about that, though. They cry about civilians in Gaza, though. Again, when your family is raped and massacred in your own home and you're taken hostage, you might have a different view of things. You might have the view, we have to get the people that did this. The people that did this hide in apartments, mosques, hospitals, schools, intentionally, so they can run a headline that Israel attacked a school or a mosque or a hospital. They do it intentionally. This pattern has been going on for decades. How have people not caught on by now? How have people not caught on? It should be clear by now what's going on. Anyway, the timing of the attack, what was going on right before the attack by Hamas against Israel, what was going on? A war in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin is a psychopathic tyrant, one of the most evil men ever born. He wants Ukraine back. He wants all the satellite countries that Russia lost back. That is his wet dream. And to see America fall. That is his wet dream. That's what he's been trying to do since, Vlad got back in power. And before that, when he was in the KGB. That's always been Vlad's goal his entire life. He has not changed one bit. He is not a mysterious man. I know what he wants. He wants America to fall. And he wants all those satellite countries back so we can have the old Soviet Union, just like when he was in the KGB. That's his wet fucking dream. That's what he wants to achieve before he dies. That's why he's attacking Ukraine for a second time now. Anyway, that war was going on. What was the scenario in the war? What was reality? Reality was America was throwing weapons at Ukraine left and right. And Repubs were down for it at first. They played along for a little bit. Anyway, before I get into that, Ukraine had better weapons than Russia had, for fuck's sake. Except for Air Force type things. Countries keep promising planes to Ukraine and never delivering. I don't know why, but they just keep doing it. Who gives a shit? Vlad ain't going to shoot a nuclear weapon at his neighboring country. He's not going to do it. It'd be stupid. He'd be irradiating his own country. He's not going to do it. Anyway, Vlad was losing badly. There were drafts in Russia, men being forced to go to that meat grinder to get killed by Ukrainians every day. They could barely take over one whole town. Months and months of this was going on. Russians being thrown into a meat grinder by Vlad because he could not give a flying fuck about any of you Russian citizens. None of you. You're fucking meat for the meat grinder. That's it. That's why there's drafts. No one wants to go fight that fucking worthless war only for Vlad's ego. Vlad was losing badly month after month. Month after month, aid packages going to Ukraine from various countries, throwing weapons at them. Again, we're not handing Zelensky $300 billion checks. We're handing those checks to weapons contractors who then send weapons to Ukraine. So there's two parties that benefit: Ukrainian soldiers and weapons contractors. That's it. Whatever, as opposed to what you hear so many liars say. That's the real deal. We ain't stupid. Here in America, we make sure some third party benefits every time we do something. Usually that third party is a weapons contractor. This is big business here. You're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. So Ukraine was whooping Russia's ass every day, all day. And they're still holding their own somewhat with drones, thank God. Anyway, that was the scenario. Vlad was losing. His orange bitch in America that only got one term as president, he wants him back in. That is his orange bitch, Donald Trump. That's Vlad's dog. Literally. That's not an exaggeration. He wants him back in as president because Donald's already said it recently. I'll let Vlad do whatever they want to do. He's shown it time and time again. He'll never go against Russia in any meaningful way because Vlad owns that orange bitch. That's simple. So he wants his orange bitch back in office. He's losing the war badly. He's got this problem where America keeps throwing money into Ukraine. Well, now he's got his Republican Party operatives, basically, and they're only loyal because of money, because Vlad has been pouring money into the Republican Party for decades. This isn't new. It's old. It's been going on forever. So he worked it one way with his traitors in America, which he's basically bought and paid for, which is most of the Republican Party, and Republican voters by proxy, whether they know it or not, whether they realize it or not, by proxy. When you're voting traitors in, you're helping Vlad by proxy. You're doing a disservice to your country. That's simple. So Vlad got his people in America via Donald Trump relaying the shit. You need to stop these Ukraine bills. What have we been seeing lately for the past 6 months? No aid to Ukraine. And if you're one of those people that says, why should my tax money go to Ukraine? There's problems here. You need to fuck off, because America brokered a deal years ago with Ukraine when Russia broke up. If you give up your nuclear weapons, we're going to help you this way, that way, this way, that way. Otherwise, Ukraine wouldn't have gave up their nuclear weapons. Which, dumb decision, by the way. Shouldn't really trust an imperial power with that kind of disarmament, in my opinion. Because the only thing that keeps imperial powers out of your country is nuclear weapons. Unfortunately, it's the only way. That's why we'll never invade Iran, because they have nuclear weapons. We'll never invade Russia, because they have nuclear weapons. Russia will never invade us. It'll always be this proxy fighting, for the most part. Anyway, so he gets his operatives They might as well be. They're on the payroll in Congress and in the Senate to stop passing Ukraine bills, because in the House in America, Republicans have control right now. Most of them are straight up Russian owned. It should be clear by now. It's not a secret. They're not hiding it. You always hear sympathetic statements about Vlad and what he's doing by the right wing for some reason. The right wing that told me my whole childhood and young adult life that anything Russian is bad. Now they love Russia. Some of them even wear t-shirts that say I'd rather be Russian than a Democrat. Okay, you're admitting you're a traitor to your own country. And you're wearing that on your shirt. What about Reagan though? When you voted for him back in the day? That's the only thing I respect Ronald Reagan for. He was a piece of shit in every other category. The only thing I respect him for is how he took care, him and the CIA took care of Russia and made sure America was number one. That's the only thing I respect Ronald Reagan for. Not that he did most of the work, the CIA did most of the work. A right-wing organization, by the way, and the FBI, both right-wing organizations. They were never liberal. They're never going to be. That's a right-wing club there. Anyway, I'm digressing. One more time. So Vlad has his operatives in Congress. They might as well be. They're on the payroll. Stop all these Ukraine bills. Now Ukraine is starting to falter. But before that, what happened? The attack on Israel happened before these bills kept getting shot down by a Republican Congress. So Vlad was losing at that time. So I find the timing of the attack by Hamas on Israel highly suspicious. In other words, it's Vlad's timing. Why? Because Russia funds these militant Muslim terror groups. That's not a secret either. Iran funds these Muslim terror groups. Where do you think they get money from? Russia. In other words, they're all one unit. Muslim terror groups, Iran and Russia, are all one unit. I find the timing of the attack suspicious. What did Vlad accomplish by initiating this? Iran and Vlad and these Muslim terror groups, what did they accomplish? Well, now they have America on a two-front war, proxy war. Now we've got fights over Gazan citizens. We've got Democrats saying they won't vote Biden because what's happening in Gaza, as if Biden has control of that. Now you've got political problems for the sitting president. So they get a little political chaos out of it. Vlad and his boys, Iran, Hamas, etc. They get some votes taken away from Biden, which gives their orange bitch a chance to get back in. Donald's base has been shrinking for years. I don't know if you noticed. I noticed. Believe me. There's a lot less Trump flags flying around. There's a lot less Trump boat parades and shit like that. That tells me all I need to know. Plus the fact that he lost the last fucking election. Badly. Plus the fact he's never won the popular vote. But that's beside the point. His base was shrinking. So Vlad's orange bitch is in trouble. Politically, he doesn't have the votes he needs to win anymore. Vlad's getting his ass kicked in Ukraine. Now he opens up a two-front war. Now we've got to give money to Israel, and because they're our ally, we're always going to have their back, and we got to give money to Ukraine at the same time. Well, he cut that off by getting his operatives in Congress to not let the Ukraine aid bills pass. So now America has to find a way to get money and weapons to Israel, money and weapons to Ukraine at the same time. That's a big problem. And then the political fallout against Biden for what's happening in Gaza. And again, I want people to remember, when you're looking at that issue, the Israeli-Gaza thing, the Israeli-Palestine thing, Remember what happened that day. People were taken hostage. People were raped, tortured, murdered in the most brutal of ways, and then taken hostages. And they still have hostages. Always remember that when you're forming your opinion. And always remember how barbaric the attack was. Anyway, I told you to view all things through the lens of America versus Russia in my several videos ago. That's why I equate Muslim terrorists with Russian soldiers, the same attitude. Rape, murder, kill, steal. That is their attitude. Same thing Russian soldiers in Ukraine as Hamas in Israel. I know a lot of people don't see it that way. That's because they don't see the big picture. They're stuck in their knee-jerk political reactions. They don't see the big picture. In other words, what I'm trying to say is that terrorist attack that day on Israel was partly Vlad Putin's fault. His idea, not just Muslim terrorist idea. The timing of it tells me that. He was losing in Ukraine. America kept sending money to Ukraine. Open up a second front in Israel via these terror groups backed by Iran and Russia. Now Joe Biden has to deal with the knee-jerk, ultra-liberal fallout of we defend Gaza no matter what, even though Gaza chose Hamas to be their leadership. Even though people cheer when Israelis are getting raped, murdered, tortured, and taken hostage. That's the difference between me and a lot of people. For instance, I like Ocasio-Cortez and a lot of the things she stands for. Yet she doesn't agree with me with this Israel thing. She's on the complete opposite side of where I'm at. I like a lot of Democrats and what they stand for. A lot of them don't agree with me with this Israel thing. And it has nothing to do with any brainwashing, political beliefs, nothing. I just know what the big picture. The big picture is us versus Russia. And Vlad was getting his ass kicked in Ukraine, and his orange bitch had no chance of winning the election. He still doesn't have much of a chance. But this Gaza issue, this Palestinian issue, it helps Vlad, it helps Donald tremendously. And if you think Donald Trump would be better for Gaza, you're dead motherfucking wrong. He already said again a few weeks ago, I'll let Israel do whatever they want to do. So, as far as Donald Trump's concerned, they could level Gaza and kill everybody. He wouldn't give a flying fuck. And everyone knows Netanyahu likes Trump. Everyone knows Putin wants Trump. That's another problem. What Putin was doing in Ukraine, Israel did not stand by the Ukrainians. I'm talking about the Israeli government. Netanyahu is more sympathetic to Putin. Well, how's that working out for Netanyahu now? Not too well. Not too well for the people of Israel. Because believe me, Putin had a hand in that attack on the 7th. It's indisputable. That's reality. My point before I just went on that digression was just because one party has a stance on something, I don't always automatically agree with that stance, even though I may lean that way. Because again, I know the big picture here. It's another proxy fight against Russia and the US via Hamas and Israel. It's bigger than the religious thing. That's a comment I keep seeing over and over again by people that don't understand the big picture. They keep blaming it on religion. That's why Iran attacked Israel. Religion's going to get us all killed. No, it has nothing to do with religion. People in religious hierarchy could care less about fucking religion. What they care about is money and power. The same thing every tyrant fucking cares about. The religious angle is to get the stupid rubes at the bottom to do what you want. The guys at the top, they don't give a fuck. If the ones that start the wars, everyone blames it on religion. Has nothing to fucking do with it, ever. It has to do with old men wanting more power. That's it. That's simple. Sometimes it's a young man wanting more power. That's it. That's simple. That's why you can't just view this latest Israel-Palestine thing, Israel-Hamas thing, through a religious lens. You got to view it through, oh, this Vlad pulling one of his old tricks again, using Iran and using a terror group to accomplish his goals. That's what's happening. The religious fight, that's small time. That's at the bottom. That's not the goal. So when viewed through the proper lens and viewed standing way back and looking at the big picture, you truly understand what's going on, and everything fucking else is just noise. So why did Iran attack last night? Again, it's just to destabilize, make the US and other allies have to focus on something else. He really wants this Ukraine thing to happen. That's the real goal. He needs to defeat Ukraine with World War II weapons and, inmate soldiers. And by inmate, I mean former prisoners, rapists, murderers, whatever Vlad can get his hands on. He's throwing on the front lines in Ukraine. He does not care. That's the real goal. All this other shit is distraction. And everyone knows if you stir up the Israel-Palestine thing, the whole world gets involved. Everyone has an opinion on it. And it becomes the center of everything. Something else I wanted to say. Iran ain't shit. Russia ain't shit as far as military capability. In comparison to Israel and the United States, they are children fighting against 300-pound men. That's the difference. And it was proven last night. Iran shot something like 300 drones and some missiles at Israel. I think one kid got injured or something. The reasons why, they're using inferior shit, and they got to shoot across Iraq to even get to Israel. It takes hours for anything from there to get to Israel. Anyway, what you saw last night was American planes, United Kingdom planes, French planes, Israeli planes, shooting down missiles over Iraq or wherever they were transiting over before they got to Israel. That's great, right? That way a lot of people don't die for Vlad's ambition. Because Iran is a tool of Russia, basically. So it's great that happened and Israel was spared. It tells me two things. It tells me, one, Iran ain't shit militarily in comparison to Israel. Two, a lot of Ukrainians watched that last night. Their country's being decimated by the fucking second by missile strikes coming from Russia. They're suffering badly. So they watch all these countries come to the aid of Israel, so no one dies in Israel. Meanwhile, again, in Ukraine, that they're begging for help. They're begging for planes. They're begging for weapons. They're begging for attention. Don't forget about us because of this Israel thing. Do you see my point? That's why the attack happened when it did. The Hamas attack against Israel. It's to take the focus off the real goal, which is Vlad wants Ukraine real bad. Real bad. And he wasn't getting nowhere. Now he's gaining ground. Two reasons. Again, the second front in Israel now, Republican operatives in Congress. That's it. So Ukrainians watched this last night and they said to themselves, we're a U.S. ally. We're getting decimated and slaughtered. Why don't we get help like that? And if you're not going to give us help like that, at least give us the weapons to do it ourselves. And they are more than justified to be thinking that right now. And I feel sorry for the Ukrainians. I consider Ukraine an important ally, one of the most important to the United States. And again, remember, it was the U.S. that urged them to get rid of their nuclear weapons, which was stupid. Ukraine. They should have never gotten rid of those. I don't know who was in charge at the time. I don't know why they made the deal. I assume the deal was pretty sweet for a lot of people. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. Because again, if you have nuclear weapons, no imperial nation will come and will invade you. Ever. That's why we'll never invade Iran. Anyways, and all the headlines you always see, and our government puts out these statements every few years. Iran's close to getting a nuclear weapon. No, bitch. They already have them. And it's obvious. We've never invaded them. That's simple. They have them. And Russia's their main ally. Russia could have just given them one. Who the fuck knows how they got it, why they got it, but they got it. Believe me. And Iran would never shoot a nuke at Israel because Israel has better nukes than they do. And Israel's missile, after Iran hit the fire button and it was detected, Israel would hit their fire button and their missile would get there in 5 seconds. That's the difference. There's no competition there. There's just no competition. Back to the Ukrainians. They deserve our help because we're the jerk-offs that came in and said, yeah, just give your nukes to Russia and they'll destroy them or whatever the fucking deal was. And, you know, we'll take care of you from this point forward. Meanwhile, Ukraine's been invaded like twice. Millions have died. You know, I love my country and everything, but you know, we're abandoning a major ally that made a deal with us back in the day. So that's why Ukraine deserves our help. For anyone out there complaining, well, we shouldn't be sending our tax money to Ukraine. Yeah, we should. Because they made a deal with us. They trusted us. And this is how they're getting fucking repaid for it. They're watching us defend Israel tooth and nail. Which I believe should be done, by the way, as we let them suffer and die. I'd be real pissed about that if I was Ukrainian. I'm not even Ukrainian, and I'm pissed about that. Because those people deserve our help. I know what Vlad is, whether some of you do, whether the world does, whether the liars do. One of the most evil entities ever born. We should not be allowing this to happen because one political party in our country are abject traitors. And it's that simple. Any Republican is defending Russian policy, defending not giving our ally that gave up their weapons because we asked them to, money. Anyone doing that, you're a traitor. I'm sorry. That's just what you are. That's a U.S. ally that needs our help. And there's no excuse, in my opinion. And it's just, there's no other reason you can come up with. Republicans never cared about spending. They run the deficit up every time they're in office, and then the Democrats have to pay it down. Look at the numbers. Don't believe me? Don't watch Fox News. Don't watch MSNBC. Just look up the numbers. That's all. Google. And you'll see what I'm saying is true. So it ain't about money being spent. Republicans never care about spending money until a Democrat's in office. That's when they throw that excuse out there. So it ain't about that. There's only one logical conclusion. Russia's been pouring money into the GOP for years, and a Russian stooge named Donald is now the head of their party. Donald says to help Russia. That's what they're doing. Why? Because they get money from Russia, the Republican Party, in various ways, individual candidates, etc., through oligarchs, through Donald, through all kinds of ways. One, and because Donald says so. Two, those are the only logical conclusions to come to on why Ukraine hasn't received an aid package in 6 months. And they should be pissed, and they should be questioning our loyalty to them, and they are, believe me. I see Ukrainian newscasters, etc. I wouldn't call them newscasters. They're just, trying to keep up with what's going on. Again, I'm not watching CNN to get this stuff. I'm not watching Fox to get this stuff. I go right to the source. People in Ukraine that post these things every day. Sources that I trust, sources that I've watched for a long time, making sure they're reliable and not just putting lies and tweets out there for money. You can eventually find reliable sources. Anyway, they should be questioning what's going on right now, and they should be very upset because a lot of Ukrainians are dying every single day. And one point I forgot to make, the drones in Ukraine, most of them are Iranian, Shahed, however you fucking pronounce it, doesn't matter. I like to pronounce it Shahed, personally. The same drones that are killing Ukrainians are the drones that got shot at Israel last night from Iran, made in Iran. Russia has millions of them, and they get them from Iran because they make them. That should tell you all you need to know right there. Let me repeat it one more time for the people that want to debate and say I'm wrong and no, you're looking at it blah, 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 or through their political brainwashing. The same drones that are killing Ukrainians, shot by Vlad at Ukraine, were the same drones that were shot from Iran to Israel last night. If that don't tell you all I need to know, and that everything I just said was true, I don't know what to tell you. And that's the reason I'm even doing this video, because that simple illustration was made available to me last night. I realized it. It's a great point. The same drones that are killing or attempting to kill Israelis are the drones that are killing Ukrainians. Maybe there's a bigger picture for people to look at here. And they shouldn't just fall into their, well, I'm a progressive, so I gotta stand with the Gazans. No, you better stand with your ally in the region, because there ain't any other ones. Israel is our ally, whether you like them or not. Iran is Russia's ally. So again, this is another proxy thing between Russia and the US, and that's what I tried to tell you in that video when I asked you to look at all these world events instead of your typical political stance you would usually take. Look at it through this lens. That's right in front of everyone's face, and should be common knowledge that almost every little war or whatever's going on where the US is involved, it's usually some proxy war with Russia. I guess I'll finish it with this. We need to help the Ukrainians. They deserve our help, and they're dying. And we need to get these traitors out of our government. This is why a certain political party cannot win right now. You're helping Vlad if they win. And if, you want to see America's demise and you want Vlad to win the game, I guess you should vote that way. I don't want Vlad to win the game. This is why, again, I liken or compare Russian soldiers with Muslim terrorists, they're all financed by the same people. They have the same mentality. They commit the same atrocities. And they don't care if you're a civilian. That is the least worry on their mind or concern. They don't give a fuck if you're a civilian. In fact, they prefer it. You know why? Because they're fucking pussies. And they'd rather have no fight at all than have to stand up against a real military like the Israelis or the Ukrainians. Okay? Indisputable. That's why they prefer targeting civilians and getting their hands on civilians. And on the basest level, what happened on October 7th, what really was it at a base level? It was a bunch of young men under the guise of a cause that wanted to rape a bunch of women and take some hostage so they could rape them some more. The whole they're Jews thing, or this is a religious war and I'm going to be a martyr, or we're doing this for the Palestinian people because of how they've been oppressed. That's all bullshit. What it really comes down to, again, a bunch of young men that wanted to rape a bunch of women and take some hostage so they could rape them some more. That's really what it was. Let's be honest. Again, it's not about religion. Any of this shit. It's about old men that want more power. And, young men that want to rape girls. And that's their opportunity under the guise of a cause they care about. Fuck out of here. So that's why I compare the Muslim terrorists to Russian soldiers. Same attitude, same funding, same axis of evil, if you will. That's why I compare what Hamas did to Israel on the 7th to what Russia's doing to Ukraine these past months, years. Same agenda, same people, same goal, same thought process. What are the young Russian men doing that are being drafted, thrown into that war? Even the ones that were already signed up for the military, they have the same attitude. Grabbing whatever young girls they can and raping them. Grabbing whatever they can and stealing property. Same mentality, same people, same financing. No, the Israelis don't go into people's homes and rape, torture, and murder them. No. The Ukrainians don't go into Russian people's homes and rape, torture, and murder them. No. That's the difference. The goal is the difference as well. Forget Netanyahu as an individual trying to save his skin by being the hero of Israel now. Forget him. Israel just wants to exist. Ukraine just wants to exist. That is their goal. That's what they fight for. Their very survival. There's a difference there. What does Russia fight for? What does Hamas fight for? Rape, torture, and murder people. And terrorize people. That's what they fight for. Every day, all day. There's a difference there. And again, no one complains when the militant Muslim groups chant death to Israel or Jews shouldn't exist. They don't have the right to exist. No one complains about that. They do complain when Gazans are dying, though. For some reason. What do I mean by that? What I mean is one side says the other side doesn't even have the right to exist. We hate them. Our prophet tells us to. We hate them. They don't have the right to exist. The other side says we just want to exist. And we got to have rockets shot at us every 5 minutes. We got to have 7 Muslim countries come against us in war. That's another point that needs to be made about the Israel versus the Muslim world thing. Israel wins all the wars. The winners take the spoils. That's, proven throughout history. Is it right? To an extent, probably no. No, it's probably not right. But that's the reality of it. When you win a war, you take the territory, whatever you feel like taking. That's why it's called the spoils of war. Israel could have taken all of it. Of course, that would probably start World War III, but, people forget that. Israel's won several wars. And they've shown some restraint. They've done some wrong as well. I know that. I'm not an idiot. I'm not saying the United States and Israel are saints. No. But again, here's what it comes down to. The big picture. The game is. Let me explain what the game is. For those of you that don't know, one more time. US versus Russia is the game. Whether you want to play or not. Because Vlad's sure fucking playing. Believe it. We got a Republican Party in this country that spouts Russian talking points. They went from Ronald Reagan to spouting Russian talking points. There's only one reason for that. Vlad got to him somehow. That's simple, and it comes down to it. Again, do you want to win the game, or do you want Vlad to win the game? What does that mean? That means supporting our ally, Israel. Whether you like them or not, they are our only ally in the Middle East. And supporting our ally, Ukraine, against our main enemy, which is Vlad Putin. Not the Russian people, Vlad. And that whole ex-KGB apparatus. Do you want to win, or do you want them to win? Because that's the game. One more time, I want to win. I don't want Vlad to win. I don't want his Russian, or excuse me, his orange bitch enacting Vlad's policies here. I don't want his orange bitch and the people under him in that party bowing to him. I don't want Vlad to have influence in any decision in American government, ever. What does that mean? That means most of the Republican Party has to go from government. Most of it. Voted out, arrested, something. If they did something wrong, they shouldn't be sitting there. And we know how many of them ask for pardons, don't we? That list is long, and it's available publicly. That should tell you all you need to know. And it comes down to all the people that say they're all about the Constitution. They got the American flag on their truck. All this bullshit. Are you going to be a useful idiot for Vlad Putin, or are you going to fight for America by going a different way until Vlad's out of the picture and all these traitors are gone? Then you can switch back. In other words, are you going to put country over fucking party? That's the question for everyone. Everyone needs to ask themselves right now, no matter what your political beliefs, brainwashing, etc. is. Do you want Vlad to win, or do you want to win? Do you want to win the game? That's just got to ask yourself. With the orange bitch, you ain't gonna win the game. How many farmers learned that lesson during his 4 years in office when they lost their farms? After voting for a con man. So Donald has to go. Jail, exile. Don't let him run for office under the 14th. I already explained the 14th to you, good people. That's why he shouldn't be allowed to run. Not because I hate Republicans, or I hate Donald Trump, or Democrats don't like Donald Trump. No, the 14th Amendment is why your Messiah needs to go. He shouldn't be allowed to run. And most of the Republican Party in government needs to go. And people need to keep hitting places like Fox News with $750 million defamation lawsuits, because they're lying every day, all day, for ratings and money. Getting old people all riled up over shit that doesn't exist. Now the big plan is, did you see the conference with Mike Johnson and Trump yesterday, was it? Their big plan is, we're going to pass a law so illegal aliens can't vote. Guess what, jerk-offs? That already exists. Illegal aliens aren't allowed to vote, no matter what fucking country they're from. And if they get caught voting, their vote doesn't count, and they probably go to jail or deported. That doesn't exist. There aren't millions of illegals voting. That's not happening. I do keep seeing GOP voters committing fraud in various ways, especially down here in Florida. There's articles all the time about it. You won't have to look far or long on Google to find those. Believe me. And those have plenty of evidence. The motherfuckers even admit it and go to jail or get fined or whatever. Anyway, one more time, and then I'm going to end this shit. Do you want Vlad to win or do you want to win? Choose country over party for once in your life. And understand what the big game is. And how you can win it. How this country can win it. Because Vlad would love to take us down. Just like Reagan and the CIA took him down. One more time, the solution is orange things cannot be president. Most of the Republican Party needs to go. The ones that actually committed crimes and took part in an insurrection should be jailed, however many of those there are. And believe me, there are many. Again, how serious this is, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, and I promise I'll end it now after this. We had a Supreme Court justice and his wife involved in insurrection. We've had several oligarchs in America. One of them runs a major grocery store chain. Owner. Paid a lot of money to make that insurrection happen. Provided different things. We had senators involved. We had congressmen involved. We had the president involved. We had cabinet members involved. Do you realize how close this was to succeeding? Because the guy in charge was sitting there watching it on television, enjoying everything, while cops were getting beaten to death. He loved it. So there was no help coming. And that's the real key. Just stop the help from coming, and anything can happen. And that was the goal. We've had major news networks that took part in that. Help make that happen. I mean, do you realize how close we came? How many players there are involved? And Vlad's helping all that. Vlad's helping make that happen. By giving money to certain, Republicans. By giving money to Republican causes, like the NRA, etc. Look what's happened to them. Bankrupt, leaders facing court. The guy was spending $1 million or $3 million a year on suits of donor money. LaPierre. No one gives a fuck. After collecting $1 million salary per year, by the way. All these right-wing organizations, they keep just falling apart due to lies, fraud, overspending, taking donor money and just, living like a king off it. That's what happened to the NRA. Anyone that donates to the NRA, you're just a fucking moron. You saw what your money was being spent on. Wayne LaPierre, so he could fly, all over the world and wear, $10,000 suits. That's all. Anyway, if you don't know what the game is, you better ask somebody, and you better figure it all out before you just do your knee-jerk political reactions, because that's the way you've always looked at things. And there's a popular saying, or many sayings, about how, it just doesn't matter who's in charge. I just don't care, blah, blah. I used to say that all the time to people. It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. It's all the same puppet with a different face. And then guess what happens? Someone like Adolf Hitler comes along, or someone like Donald Trump comes along, who wants to burn it all down and keep it all for himself. That's when you got to stand up and pay attention and start changing your mindset from, yeah, I guess it does matter who's in charge. And if you're asking yourself, does it matter who's in charge? Think about Germany in 1945 as the Russian savages were doing what they did to the people after they conquered Germany. You had Russia coming in from one side, you had America coming in from the other side. Think about what happened to Russia, the devastation to its people, economy, standing in the world. Took them a long time to get through that. And it was bad. So yeah, it matters for you personally in your own country who's in charge. Because they could turn your country into 1945 Germany when the Americans and the Russians were closing in. Anyway, I think I've said enough. I hope everyone has a good day.